The influence of Islamic culture is evident even in today's Spanish society. In Spanish cuisine, where they use spices such as saffron, in their language, their Arabic-infused music, and even in their daily lives. Yet, the most impactful influence given to Spain by the Moors is seen in the architecture they left behind. The term Moor refers to the Muslim ethnic group deriving from northern Africa, typically of Arab descent. The Moors entered and began to conquer the Iberian Peninsula, also known as Spain, in 711 AD. The battle was bloody and spanned several years. However, when the Moors finally defeated the Visigoths and their king, Rodrigo, the Visigothic people needed a way to justify their defeat, especially once the Moors started building grandiose architecture. One of these coping mechanisms was for the people to view the loss as part of a prophecy or legend. To understand how the architecture is still prevalent in today's Spanish society, we must realize that the legend or prophecies are still around today. One popular legend is that an ancient king of Spain built a secret tower and kept it locked. 26 of his successors respected his wishes and kept adding locks. King Rodrigo, when it was his turn, smashed the locks, went inside, only to find a scroll saying that the Arab horsemen would come and conquer him for trespassing. Another popular legend is that Rodrigo met a woman named La Cava, who would change his life and the fate of Spain forever.
There are variants of the story, but according to the probably the most prominent version of the story, he ultimately ends up seducing her, and the critical scene involves basically a rape. He uses his power and his authority to take advantage of La Cava, and so what she does then is to write a letter to her father informing him of what's happened. And once the news gets out, El Conde Julián is basically seized by the desire for revenge. And so what he does then is to conspire with the very people that he's been fighting with over the years, and offers them free passage across the Straits of Gibraltar into Spain, and he then fights with the invading army, and Rodrigo, despite the fact that he mounts a valiant defense, his troops are ultimately defeated.
The legends aided to create a smooth transition for the Visigothic people into the Moorish culture and society. The Visigothic people witnessed their churches transform into Islamic mosques and other buildings. The Moors brought with them a brilliance that allowed them to begin transforming the Iberian Peninsula.
But the Moors took Spain for 700 years, from 711 AD to 1492 AD, and made a sparkling civilization that's hardly ever been seen since, with the cooperation between three major cultures of Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, in a way that we still look back to as a model for cooperation among cultures and religions.
The Moors built lavish buildings and phenomenal architecture, many that are still around today. Two of the most well-known Moorish buildings are in Córdoba and Granada, La Mezquita and La Alhambra. La Alhambra is situated in the city of Granada, near the mountainous region Sierra Nevada. Alhambra derives from the Arabic word Alhambra, meaning the red one. Interestingly enough, La Alhambra is not just one palace, but actually 6 palaces and other buildings combined: a barracks, a congregational mosque for a small town, as well as a zoo and an aviary. The Alhambra has many beautiful adornments and sections within the palace. The beautiful and intricate windows with arches, the lucarnas, stalactite-like adornments, the court of myrtles, Palacio Nazaris, among many more. My personal favorite is the Court of the Lions, with the majestic and unique fountain in the middle of the patio. Interestingly enough, the 12 lions that support the fountain represent the 12 signs of the zodiac. Also, the 4 water channels that cross the courtyard represent the 4 rivers of paradise.
what impressed me was just the lavishness of the ornamentation, and also the use of Arabic writing as a form of decoration. I guess there are verses from the Quran that adorn the walls, but also just it's plaster work that's like lace, that's just like nothing that you've ever seen.
Alhambra's most intricate and what some deemed the finest parts were built in the year 1344 to 1396. Due to the beauty, when the Spaniards defeated Granada, the last of the Islamic cities in Spain, Queen Isabella and King Fernando proclaimed it to be their Casa Real, or the royal residence for the Spanish monarchs, making it a powerful place for the years to come. Another famous building, and what some historians and art professors believe demonstrates the epitome of Islamic architecture in Spain, is in Córdoba, La Mezquita, or the Mosque of Córdoba. The Great Mosque of Córdoba has seen dramatic changes in its more than 1,000 years of existence. It has been a Christian church, a mosque, a cathedral, and now has a mixture of the two. Interestingly enough, Abd al-Rahman decided to elongate the mosque floor plan by allowing his prayer hall to go 8 bays south, still paying homage to his predecessors. His son Muhammad had the idea to have horseshoe arches inside the mosque, which has now become a central theme throughout the mosque.
The horseshoe arch, which is so characteristic of the architecture, including the arabesque and the geometric interlace of tile and fretwork, limestone and marble, and beautiful embellishments all upon that.
The Alhambra and the Mosque of Córdoba are two of the most dazzling places in Spain today. Yet, it wasn't always like that, and it takes hundreds of thousands of dollars, a long time, and hard-working people to preserve and protect these and other monuments from corroding. Unfortunately, we almost lost the striking Alhambra to erosion and homeless people. In 1829, a young American writer named Washington Irving traveled to Spain with some friends and ended up in the city of Granada. When he heard about the legends and the history of the palace at the top of the mountain and how it had been empty for centuries, Irving decided to write a book depicting of the lost jewel that Alhambra was, as well as the Moorish people who had once built, maintained, and resided in it. After the book became popular, the government decided to restore the historic building and make it an official tourist site, aiding in the economic boost. After the government decided to get on board with the preservation of the Moorish ruins, many government and private groups arose to aid in the financial obligations of restoration. Now, not only are they considered UNESCO World Heritage Sites, but they are also supported by the locals and foreigners who pay money to visit them. They are still being preserved today as museums and teaching sites. Yet, given the age of these ruins, the techniques used by archaeologists and preservationists are fascinating. Technology now has the ability to do virtual screenings of the site so they can reconstruct without ever moving or chipping a single rock, aiding in the mastery to do it correctly the first time. Another technique is
that there's a technique that's been developed recently of trying to teach craftsmen the ancient techniques. So you don't just come in with concrete and cranes, you teach craftsmen how they did it 11 centuries ago, carving stone, carving the arabesque, making the tile work. So that's kind of one of the big strategies today, is to try to recreate the ancient techniques and be authentic, so to speak, as much as possible, but also to take incredible care on these very, very fragile buildings. So for instance, when you want to clean the surface of a building like the Córdoba Mosque, you don't want to come there with a big pressure washer or Brillo or whatever harsh techniques. They now use pressure washers that are so fine that you could hold it right up to your hand and barely feel anything.
By having these different techniques, the groups and archaeologists aid in the maintaining of the integrity of the architectural marvels. I can sum it up no better than this.
Yeah, I think art and monuments are the way that we can contact the past more immediately than any other way.
The Alhambra and La Mezquita are now Spanish marvels, not only because of their geometric and intricate designs, but also because of how it shows the history of Spain and how the people came to be. The preservation of the Alhambra and La Mezquita demonstrates the ever-present Islamic influence in Spain. In the end, it is history that is as important as the air we breathe.